Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ice Cold Takes podcast. I'm your host, Joey DiMaglio, and this week I'm pleased to announce that I'm joined by an NHL coach for the first time in Ice Cold Takes history. Some may know him as Chief, while others know him as the man who led the St. Louis Blues to their first Stanley Cup title in franchise history back in 2019. I'm happy to welcome Craig Berube. Thanks for joining me, Coach. How are you?
Joey, thanks for having me on.
I really appreciate you joining me today. And, I might as well start by explaining how I got you on the show today. A lot of people were saying, like, Joey, what the hell? How did you get Craig Berube? Well, this is a bit out of left field for me, as well as for people listening, I'm sure, at home. My old gym teacher, John Rooney, all the way back from kindergarten, he's a frequent customer at New World Pizza and Cafe, which I talk about often on the show, of course. He told me he went to school with Coach Berube's wife, and he told me he went to your wedding. So Mr. Rooney set something up for us, and here we are. So, Coach, I'm guessing you and Rooney get along well, huh?
We do actually. He's a great guy. We golf a little bit in the summers when we can. A lot of fun to play golf with. Real character. He's just a fun guy to be around. You get a lot of laughs when you're around him, and he's a good golfer, and he's a big sports fan. Just the one knock against him is he cheers for the Islanders. He could probably choose a better team, but it is what it is. So, anyways, he's a Blues fan too at heart because we got to know each other really well, and he cheers for us too a little bit. But a lot of fun, good guy to be around.
I'm assuming he's gonna be, if he's listening right now, he's gonna kill me if I don't give him like free slices for getting for
He
getting for getting you on here.
might want to take a break from going to get some pizza, start working out a little bit more.
What do you think of pizza? Is pizza one of your favorite foods?
I wouldn't say favorite, but I like it. I mean, my wife's Italian from Italy, so she makes good pizza. But I like to get out there and get some good pizza. That's the one thing in St. Louis. We don't have the best pizza going here, but the East Coast, we're in Philly area, got a lot of good pizza.
On those East Coast trips, when you go visit the Islanders, the Rangers, make sure you go to a good pizzeria. You know,
We always get good pizza after the games, man. It's in the room right away.
oh, that's perfect. Yeah, nothing better than that. All right, so we'll get right into these questions here. So I wanted to talk to you. You played in the league for quite a while, and eventually you became a coach. You were the head coach of the Flyers, and then found your way to become the head coach of the Blues and made that miraculous run. So transitioning from player to coach, was that something you always wanted to do?
Later on in my career, I just think that you start to think about what you're going to do. And I played with Dale Hunter. We became real good friends, and we just watched a lot of hockey. So I kind of knew that was something I wanted to do and get involved in. And my roots were in Philadelphia. You know, that was the first place I played, and I thought about that's where I'll end up, retiring. And because I'm very good friends with Paul Holmgren and Bob Clark, and they gave me an opportunity to get into coaching. So, you got to have people in your corner to give you an opportunity, and they did. And here I am.
And speaking of the Flyers, you've had two tenures with the Flyers. You had two tenures with the Capitals, and then you played for the Islanders. You also coached the Flyers, as I mentioned earlier. So we were joking around setting something up before, but you have every reason to dislike the Rangers. Yet the Rangers gifted your current team, the St. Louis Blues, with Pavel Buchnevich last offseason. So I wanted to ask you, Buchnevich had a career year for you guys. So tell me, how much of a difference has he made to your team?
Oh, huge difference. He's such a good puck possession guy and playmaking ability. I think the one thing that people don't realize about him is how good defensively he is and what a good penalty killer. And I think overall he's got great skills. But in my opinion, what makes him a great player is as his anticipation and his brain. He's very, very smart hockey player. He anticipates extremely well, and that's what makes him special.
Yeah, I'm sure he's fun to have around in the locker room too. Does he crack a lot of jokes?
He's a funny guy. He loves giving it to us coaches, whether it's in game or practice, things like that. I get on him all the time because he's the last guy to come on the ice in practice, and he comes on literally 1 minute before practice starts. So I bust on him quite a bit about it. And then the next thing you know, he'll show up 5 minutes before practice, and he makes sure I see the clock. So we're always giving it to each other a little bit.
Oh, that's hilarious. I wouldn't I wouldn't think anything other than that for Buchnevich. Quite a clown, fan favorite for the Rangers. But when that trade happened on the other end, us Rangers fans felt that we got fleeced because Sammy Blais was the only player coming back. Not to knock on Blais, along with a draft pick that came back, but he's more of a bottom six player, and he's shown a bit of a potential for the Blues when you guys uh, won the Stanley Cup and the Rangers last year before he got hurt. So, what
Yeah,
specifically did you like most about him, about Blais, before he got traded?
yeah. Well, he plays physical. He plays hard. And he was a pretty big part of us winning. He came in the lineup in and out, but when he came in, he was an effective guy for us, whether it's from his physicality or his puck skills. He has very good puck skills. Maybe people don't realize that, but his puck skills are really good. He has potential to score. I had him in the minors. He scored 30 goals his first year in the league. And he plays a heavy game. He's going to be physical, and he's going to battle hard. And, he's a gritty guy. He gets in there and plays a hard game. But, you never know with a guy like that. He's getting later on in his career, not later on in his career, but he's getting a little bit older now. And, there is potential for him to score some goals and things like that because of his puck skills.
Do you find that with a player like Blais, when it comes to the playoffs, that he kicks it up into higher gear? Like, let's say in 2019 when you guys made the run, he was in some of those games. Did you see his game take the next step during in that sequence?
Yeah, I think so. I think, playoff time, he's probably a better player. There's more physicality playoff time. And I think, that's a big part of playoffs is playing hard hockey. And that's what he does.
Speaking about that run, everyone knows about how the Blues went from last place in January to Stanley Cup champions in June. And of course, you were named interim coach in November of 2018 of the 18-19 season. So at what point in that 5-month stretch did you feel the team had turned it around?
In December, we took over in November. We started to come around in December. We weren't winning enough games. I think our goaltending wasn't solid enough. And, but we were playing real good hockey. We're starting to get an identity of the way we wanted to play. And then, once Binnington came in there, the goaltending really took off. Binnington and Allen, they both were a great tandem. They played well together. And, our team really started to roll. And we realized at that point that we had to win a lot of games to get in the playoffs, which we did. And we became a real team and a real tight team. And we rolled right through playoffs that way.
And the Blues have made some minor adjustments in the few years following their Stanley Cup victory. Petrangelo is no longer there, but you still have Tarasenko. Ryan O'Reilly's there, and he's just an incredible captain. I say from a fan's perspective, like, I wish I had a player like that. He's awesome. Now you guys have Buchnevich. There's Jordan Kyrou. So there's a lot of scoring options for you. So do you ever find it difficult to give enough ice time to everyone?
Well, last year at times it was, we have a lot of guys that, you know, are probably pretty even players and, need ice time to produce. But I think we managed it well, and I think our players managed it well. I think they understood that, we got a lot of good players. And, from that standpoint, when you have 920 plus goal scorers in your team, that shows, we're all about team here and we're all about doing what's best for the team. And I think our players buy into that, and that showed last year. So,
Is
um, you gotta, you know, ice time's got to be earned, and they all know that. So when they do the right things and they're doing their job, they'll play.
is it is it easier to roll all four of the lines, or do you like to stack up the lines to give you like maybe one or two good lines instead?
Well, I think you need four lines in this league to be successful. I really do. I think your fourth line's ultra important. It was when we won the cup. It was a big line for us. I like to roll lines. I like to get everybody involved as much as I can. I didn't find that our fourth line was involved enough last year. It did later on as the season roll on, but I like to get them guys involved right away in the game because they're glue guys. They play hard, they play physical, they do a lot of little things right. They disrupt the other team, so you need those guys. Like I said, I think you need everybody. You can't just rely on two lines or one line. You need everybody, and everybody needs to play and feel part of it.
And, the reason I bring that up is, the balanced scoring is because the Rangers have a lot of younger talent, but sometimes it may feel like they're overshadowed. Like a guy like Lafreniere or Capo Caco is overshadowed by Artemi Panarin or Chris Kreider. There's a lot of options in front of them. So, does it take, did you see some growing pains from your younger talent when when you first gave them ice time?
For sure, and there's still going to be growing pains. They're still learning to play the game. Like Kairu's 23 or 22, Thomas 23. Like they've become real good players. They're getting better and better, but they're still growing and learning. But you gotta try to get them out there as much as you can. They're good players for us. Robert Thomas is really our best playmaker on our team. Jordan Kyrou made the All-Star team last year, had a real good season. So these guys are the future of this team, and they're now with this team. Like we need them to play really well now to win.
Right, so they have a direct impact on your success currently. So
But
you're gonna give them the ice time then.
for sure, you got to play them, but they got to earn it, and they know that. And if they're not doing things right, then you got to take it away. That's the way it works.
Right, so it comes down to those specific moments where, one day they have a good game and they gotta keep it going, right? What's what do you try to emphasize on them in practice to make sure, let's say they have a good game, like when they were younger and not as well established as they are now, how do you get them to consistently perform at the level they had just performed if they had a good game?
I always use the term they need to become leaders. And how do you become a leader is by doing everything right every day and doing it hard and doing the work ethic's got to be there in practice every day. You watch Ryan O'Reilly does things right every day, and that's why he's a leader. And I just, they see him do it, so they follow. And it's just about coming out and practicing and working and doing things right, and then taking it consistency, doing it every day, going into every game, doing things right all the time. You may not score, but you were in good position defensively. You worked hard without the puck. You made good puck plays. All those things. That's how you become consistent.
Reason and you bring up O'Reilly, and I mentioned earlier he's one of my favorite players as a fan. Was that naming him captain? Was that one of the easier decisions you've had to do, or is that like was it still difficult for you? Because it seems
I
like
think
he's like a great player in the dressing room and on the ice too.
we have a few guys that could have been captain on our team here, but it's just a choice you have to make. It's not always easy because you run through a lot of different scenarios in your mind with management. Who should be the captain? That why? You got the whys, the pros, the cons. So we got a bunch of guys that are good leaders here that we could have chose, but you know, picking O'Reilly's not a bad. That's not a bad choice at all.
I wouldn't say so at all. I think he's a great player, and the acquisition the Blues made a number of years ago of him from the Sabres was monumental, and he's key foundational piece of that Stanley Cup run that you went on a few years ago. But one question I did have for you as a coach: if your team is ever struggling to score goals, what do you feel is the best way to overcome that, both during games and in practice? If it's like a stretch where you're struggling to
Yeah,
generate offense, because it happens.
does. I think that you can't focus on it. Like I think if you're not scoring goals, you got to first of all look at why. And it could be a number of different reasons. And then you got to try to fix that. Okay. So it could be because we're not shooting the puck properly enough. We're not getting inside. We're not getting inside in good scoring areas enough. We're on the outside too much. It could be we're not possessing the puck enough. We're not making good puck plays. It could be a number of different things. So I think, first of all, as a coach, you got to look at why you're not scoring goals and make sure that you bring that to the team. You show video, you break it down. Look, we're on the outside too much. We're not at the net enough. We're not getting to the net enough. Our shooting is out too far. We're not in tight enough. We're not getting grade A's. Could be a number of things. So that's first and foremost. There's times where you go through stretches where you're doing things right and the puck's not going in the net, right? You know, you're getting good quality chances. Goalies are making saves. You're missing the net a little bit. It's not clicking. So when that's going on, you know, it's important that your team stays composed, and that's something as a coach, you have to stay composed and you got to work through it because you're going to go through bad stretches in this league. Everybody does. And when you're going through bad like that, you got to stay composed and you got to make sure your team stays composed. And the work ethic and the competitiveness cannot go away. You have to keep working. You have to stay competitive and you'll get out of it.
So it doesn't seem to me that you're a coach that likes to mix up the lines all the time. You want to get focus on the fundamentals in practice, make sure those are down to a T before you
Oh,
go with
yeah,
that.
but I will mix lines up for sure. If the scoring's not there, I'm not saying I won't do that. I will mix lines up and try to find some combinations that maybe will work for a little bit. You know what I mean? So I'm not afraid to mix the lines up in game or whatever the next day. But you know, whatever lines you mix up, they're going to go back the way you had them. That's the way it always works.
Right. And um maybe I want to know from you, are you an analytics guy or do you not deal with any of that? Do you stay
Oh,
away from that?
no, we have analytic guys. We have analytics. We got on like we have video coaches that have analytics for us every game. We get analytics before every team we play on the other team, and then we have an analytics report after the game on our team. So I think they're very helpful. I think you got to look at them. They're not the all to be all, but you got to look at them and they're useful for sure.
That's a conversation us fans like to have a lot, very frequently here. Just like in person, over online, social media, just the importance of analytics. And I think you hit the nail on the head there with them not being the end all be all. They are important, but it's just not the entire story, right?
Oh, it's not. You got to have a gut. You got to use your gut feelings as a coach, and I do, and that's important. So you got to make sure that you got a little bit of both, and you got to use them. You got to use your resources, but also you got to go off your gut.
Right. Yeah. So, a guy that's creating scoring chances, but not necessarily finishing every single time might warrant the spot in the lineup over someone that's struggling, but is a staple maybe sometimes for you, huh?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, chances are good, but eventually they got to go in. If they don't, then chances are useless, right? The object's to score goals. There's a lot of guys that get chances. They're just not good scorers. They're not good goal scorers. So, I mean, to put them in situations in the offensive part of the game, power play or whatever, like if they don't score, then you can't really use them, right? They don't score. That's just what it boils down to. Results are everything.
Talk about goaltending for you. So last year you had Ville Husso, who had a really good season before moving on to Detroit, and you also have Binnington. So was it really difficult for you to go back and forth between the goaltenders to give them playing time because they both have played well before?
Yeah, I don't think down the stretch it was. Binner came out and he started really well. Ville Husso was just so, but then Binner had a little downtime, and so Husso, really elevated his game and played well. And then down the stretch, you need both goalies, in my opinion. We do anyhow here, so we use both goalies till the end of the season. And I just made a choice to go with Husso at the start of playoffs. After 3 games, I changed him.
All right, and we've seen that start to come about more often across the NHL. Teams are starting to use both their goaltenders, even in playoff runs or down the stretch. Is that do you tend to see you see that happening as well too? Is that like a shift in the game, or is that just because it's just the way the schedule is?
I think it's a schedule, and also I think if you don't have a goalie like Vasilevsky or sure skin, somebody that, can handle the workload, are great goalies, first of all, and they deserve to play a lot of games, but they can handle it. Okay. So there's a lot of goalies I don't think that are capable of handling it, whether it's size, strength, things like that. So, you just got to look at what you have and you got to do what's best for the team. That's really what it boils down to.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it seems you're the judge of who is able to manage that workload versus not you, because then you have to deal with injuries too, right?
Well, yeah, and there's, it's, you got to be careful with injuries and things like that too. So again, that's the workload. Um, and, it's very important to manage it properly because, you lose your goalies, you're in trouble. So you got to make sure that you keep them healthy as much as possible. But I do see a lot of teams going, with a 2-man system with the goalies. That's something that you probably see more than you normally do, I think, in the NHL. But it's just kind of how things are leaning towards a little bit. But also, it could be, there's not enough goalies that are coming out of junior or college or whatever they're coming out from. They're not capable of handling, a big time workload.
Got a couple questions for you before we wrap this up. Do you like to give speeches in the dressing room before periods, in between periods?
I'm not a I'm not like one of these speech guys. I like to come in before the game and just, you know, talk a little bit about what we need to do, how we need to start the game, and things like that. And in between periods, there probably could be some correctional things I'll go over quickly. What we're not doing well enough. Maybe we're not competing hard enough. Maybe we're not working hard enough in the game. Things like that. And I just, I don't keep it long. It's pretty quick and short, right to the point and direct.
So you wouldn't be like a John Tortorella, just balls to the wall, going all out at you, right?
Oh no, that's not me between periods. No.
What's your favorite thing about coaching overall?
I think just being the guy, your job is to run the team and to make sure that you're holding guys accountable and being a leader. That's I think that's just ingrained in me. I enjoy that side of things, looking after things. Just managing your coaching staff, giving those guys jobs to do. Putting people in place to be successful, all those sorts of things. As a coach, that's your job. So I enjoy doing that stuff. I like that leadership side of things. And really, I love being part of a team, and I'm part of a team. I played for a long time as a player. I was part of a team. I'm like, how can I stay part of a team? And that's coaching.
Right. And it seems like there's a lot to manage, and you said you like to delegate the roles evenly
Yeah.
between your coaches, right?
Do. I like to delegate things and it makes people feel good. And I like, they want to do a good job. That's important, and it's the same as, the team, you got to delegate roles and you got to convince some players that this is a good role for you and you got to do it well. So so we have success. And I think just, that daily, I love that daily routine as a coach every day, coming in, doing this, doing that, it's something I enjoy.
All right. And last question for you: when it comes to preseason, and you give, if let's say the Blues front office decides to let some of the younger prospects, guys you've drafted, get a little bit of action in ice in during the games. How deep of a look do you usually take at those guys before making a decision on them?
Yeah, I think there's some first year guys, like say they were just drafted this year coming into camp. We'll give them a couple games or one game, some practice time here with some of the vets, and then we send them back to junior. There's obviously guys that are more ready and they'll get more of a look, but normally that's not the case. Like, yeah, you're picking in the first 5 picks in the NHL draft. You're obviously going to give those guys a big time look, right? But we're usually not picking there. Our draft picks are lower. Um, But it depends on the player and it depends on how he's doing in camp. But for the most part, these young guys will go back to their juniors.
So in other words, the bar for them to cross to possibly even be in the discussion of making the team opening night is really high.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I'm yeah that again. I guess tying that back into the Rangers side, that a lot of fans are looking forward to some of the prospects that the Rangers have. So I'm sure it's pretty much the same for coaches across the league, especially
Yeah.
competitive teams.
Right. Competitive teams for sure. I mean, teams that, like I said, they're picking high picks. Some of those guys are going to play for that team because they need to work with them and develop them because that's going to be their team down the road.
And I guess it's more of a difficult decision for you too, because well, it's probably an easier decision for you because your team is composed of so many well-rounded forwards. So let's say a forward prospect comes into camp preseason, it's going to be really difficult for not saying it's impossible, but it's just the decision, it tends to be a
Yeah.
little bit easier, huh?
Somebody comes in and they're really showing something, they're going to stay around. We're going to give them more looks, more games. Jake Neighbors was a good example last year. He came into camp and he willed his way on the team. He played extremely well in camp. He played extremely well in exhibition games. He made the team.
How do you handle like the ice time of of your regulars like O'Reilly? You just give him a couple games just for seasoning, just to stay in shape or to get the
Uh,
gears going.
Usually want to play between four games is probably a good number for them.
Right. And the preseason schedule is some people say it might be too long, some say it's too short. Probably too long for the players.
It can get a little long. It can drag on a little bit. But I think it's important that they do play games and get the playing speed. But you know, um, you want to get through camp healthy, but also you want to make sure you're working on things and getting your game plan down, and your players are getting up to speed of how fast the game's really going to be.
So you probably have an idea already of going into camp of what your line combinations are going to be even before, but
Yeah,
just the
we try
preseason
to work.
solidifies that.
Pretty much. I mean, we kind of know already, but we'll give young guys some looks with veteran players early on in camp. We always do. We want them guys to be in a good spot. But then, once a few days go by, we'll get our lines together and get ready.
All right. Well, Coach Berube, thanks so much for doing this with me. When you're if you're ever in New Jersey, I don't know if the Blues play the Devils this year, but if they do, you should stop by New World and I'll hook you and Mr. Rooney up with some pizza.
Appreciate it, Joey. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. All right. Ice Cold Takes listeners, take it easy. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.